There's a lot of news on the injury front in the NFL to get to. There is college football coaching news, and one particular story that I am not happy about that we'll get to a little later on in this hour, and also odds and ends, a whole bunch of great stuff. For the final time in person this week, as we would normally do things, Sam Yarnell is here. We are off tomorrow. We'll have kind of we'll have the show tomorrow, but it'll be some of the best stuff from this week, choice cuts from this week that we'll be putting into tomorrow's show. Also, Friday, Black Friday, I will be doing the show with Robert Littall from Black Sports Online. So see, it all just works together wonderfully. So looking forward to that. Robert Littall will join us for that. Sam and I will have our usual Page versus the Prince picks as well. We start in college football, Sam Yarnell, now that we've told everybody what's going on for the week. We start in college football. The latest college football playoff rankings have been released, and there you see them if you are watching at home as opposed to listening on the podcast version of the show. Sam, I mean, we see Miami jump up over Utah and move into the 11th spot. They get Oregon if the playoffs were to start today. That would, by the way, be a very entertaining game to watch, Miami and Oregon. And then Ole Miss gets leapfrogged by, Oregon. So that's what we got. Oregon beats USC. They leapfrog Ole Miss. We still don't know what's going to happen with Ole Miss. Should there be a change in the coaching situation there with Lane Kiffin? What did you make of the latest rankings, Sam Yarnell?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to my point from before, right? The same point I made last week, and this week just furthers that. This is so dumb. This is stupid at this point. It makes no sense.
Tell us what you really think.
The Notre Dame thing, whatever.
They're both going to make the playoff. They both went out. They both make the playoffs.
Miami cannot make the playoff. I'm sorry. Miami's only path to making the playoffs has to be winning the ACC.
Right.
They are not good enough to get an at-large bid.
No, but I think they are going to win out.
Doing this whole thing where they're ranking them just on that borderline, right, where the ACC could somehow end up with two teams. The ACC is a worse conference than the American this year. I am confident about saying that. The ACC is a worse conference than the American this year. Let that sit with you for a second, because it's the truth. Look at the standings. Look at the performance. Look at the strength of schedule for those two conferences, the strength of victory for those two conferences. The American is performing better than the ACC this year, and somehow the committee's lining up for the ACC to not only have their champion in, but also backdoor Miami into this thing. This is ridiculous. It's patently ridiculous behavior from the committee at this point.
I guess they're hoping that Miami takes them off the hook and just wins out.
Which would be hilarious, because they would still need help to win the ACC championship. They still need help from SMU and Virginia to get to the ACC championship in Charlotte, let alone win the dang thing, which they've only let you down in big games so far this year. So that's a little bit of a leap there too. I am so done with this Miami team and the ranking that they're being given and the favoritism they're being given by the College Football Playoff Committee. Again, I made the point on the show last week. I'll make it again this week. I truly think it would be more enjoyable at this point if we went back to a 4-team playoff, or just simply, I don't think the 4-team playoff is the answer, because there was still a lot of infighting there. We need to go back to the BCS computer.
Oh, God.
It's as simple as that. Like, I know that for a couple of days, people will try to debate who's the number 2 and number 3 teams in the country. I'll tell you what, this year it'd be pretty easy. It'd be Ohio State, or the winner of the Big Ten title game, and Texas A&M, or the winner of the SEC title game. And that would be the best game in college football. And the 12-team playoff probably going to rob you of that exact matchup.
Well, I mean, look, I can understand the angst from Miami fans, though, too, when you see Notre Dame ranked 2 spots above you, and they're the 9 seed, and you, Miami, have beaten Notre Dame. So, I mean, that part of this, the elephant in the room that, we've talked about ad nauseum still has to be discussed if we're talking about Miami. If you don't think it's right that Miami winds up potentially with a playoff spot, well, then what about Notre Dame? So the whole thing is screwed up if we're talking about it from that perspective, Sam.
I mean, I think the committee themselves in years past has set the precedent for a head-to-head loss in September is not as is not as detrimental to your resume as multiple conference losses in October and November, which is what Miami has. Like this to me, it just, while I get that, everybody wants to love Miami because of where they are and their massive fan base and the fact that they've got Carson Beck, who has this social media personality, and they're this team that's been built the new way that the NCAA wants teams to be built, and they went out and just paid for a bunch of players and kind of just ragtagged a group together, and it's not really a good football team, but the committee very clearly wants to reward what Miami did by somehow letting them back end their way into this college football playoff. It is truly, truly ridiculous when you're talking about an ACC, again, that shouldn't have, they've got what? 4 teams in this CFP top 25? There's no way that the ACC should have 4 teams in the top 25 right now.
The latest as far as the odds are concerned at FanDuel, Ohio State plus 180 to win the whole thing. Indiana then at 5-1. Texas A&M at plus 750. Georgia at 10-1. Notre Dame at 10-1. Oregon at 10-1. That seems to be a popular number. Texas Tech at 12-1 and Alabama at 17-1, and then it drops off. Ole Miss at 27-1 is the big drop off there. And what's going to be very interesting to see here in the final 20 seconds that we have, Sam, is what happens with Ole Miss and obviously with Lane Kiffin and next week. How it impacts them potentially in the rankings.
I don't know, Jason. It sounds more and more like that's done, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, and we have more coaching news to get to later on in the show from college football, and one item in particular that I am not happy about. And if you're a fan of the University of Connecticut, you're not happy about. If you're a fan of Colorado State, though, you are. What is Jim Mora thinking? Continuing on this Wednesday edition of the show, good to have you with us from our SportsWrap studios in Las Vegas. Sam Yarnell, let's get to the NFL. I know you and I are both of the same mindset, I think, on this. So there's not going to be a lot of disagreement in how we discuss this particular story. But, I mean, the Bengals are going with Joe Burrow here for this Thanksgiving game. And, I mean, with their season essentially over as far as being a playoff team is concerned, it is confounding to say the least that you are going to take your franchise quarterback and potentially put him into a position where he could get injured again. And who knows, because the guy's fragile. I mean, there's just no way of getting around it. His body is fragile, not mentally he's fragile. But we know from a physical standpoint, this is a guy that has suffered numerous injuries throughout his career in the NFL. And I cannot for the life of me figure out. It's not like you're throwing, I don't know, take your run-of-the-mill, terrible third or fourth string quarterback out there. Joe Flacco is a capable quarterback. He's not going to embarrass you or your football team. Wide receivers are still going to get the football. They're not going to be grumpy. They're still going to get their numbers. Why, if you are the Bengals, you have made this decision to go back to Joe Burrow at this stage of the season? I don't know what you're gaining out of it. You already know what he is. You know he's a great quarterback when he's on the field. So just get him on the field next year, Sam.
Yeah, Jason, obviously that is a huge story headed into this game. But I mean, let's not forget across the field from him, right? Lamar Jackson also been dealing with injury all year. So it is definitely something that I am going to keep my eyes peeled towards. And I think what's funny about that, right, is, you've got Burrow coming back off this injury. You've got Lamar still dealing with this nagging injury. And you've got two of the worst defenses in the NFL going head to head. So I'm going to look to the over in this game. I'll probably look to some longest reception props for Jamar Chase, his first game back off the suspension. No T. Higgins. The number is going to be inflated, but I will probably look to Jamar Chase in this game. I like the Bengals getting 7. There were 7.5s out there. If you can still find one, I would eat that right up. But give me the Bengals +7 in this game. Lean to the over. Again, bad defenses. They want to get right. But yeah, this for the Bengals, it's dire straits, right? If you don't win this game, you got to think about benching him the rest of the season.
You're 3-8. Even if they won out and went 9-8. Right? I mean, they're 2-1 in the division. If you want to make an argument,
right. Which is why it's unfortunate, right, that this ends up being the night game on Thanksgiving, because it is, of these 3 games, it is the one that I'll be paying the least attention to.
But I mean, if they finish 9-8, are they even getting in? If you even want to make the argument that they finish the season 9-8, are they getting in? You know what I mean? The number of teams they'd have to leapfrog at this point. You know, the Chargers, the Jaguars, the Bills, the Texans, the Steelers are still ahead of them, although I don't know how much longer that'll be the case. Kansas City is still ahead of them. Miami is still ahead of them. Miami has a better chance to make the playoffs. You could make a better argument for Miami right now at 4-7. To potentially make the playoffs, especially with their schedule being what it is. They've got the Saints. I mean, there's a realistic shot that Miami gets back to 500 with the Saints, Jets, and Steelers. Their next 3 games, you can make the argument for Miami potentially to get back to 7-7 and have a swinging chance going into the final 3 games of the regular season, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, the hope would be for Cincinnati if they win outright. It means they beat Baltimore twice, get some help from Baltimore, who would have 2 losses there. If they win out, they could win the division. That's the only hope. The wild card's out of the question, I think, for any AFC North team.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I just find the whole thing puzzling. That if you were going to play Burrow, you needed him in the last game. That was when he had to be out there. And I know there was the short rest between Sunday and this Thanksgiving game, but if you were really taking a shot at trying to salvage the season, he had to play on Sunday. And the fact that he didn't essentially told us, what the Bengals really think of their chance to potentially win the division. Hey, what'd you think of the Bills making the move to go and get some help as far as, their receiver spot? Is it a bit of panic, when you go out and sign Brandon Cooks at this stage of the season?
No, I mean, he was a guy who was released. You're taking a shot. You pay him no money. I mean, it's just a, shot in the dark. Someone was going to sign him. It just happened to be the Bills. It'll be interesting. I mean, this weekend, obviously an interesting matchup against the Steelers, but I don't know, Jason. I don't know if there's any game that intrigues me as much as Chiefs-Cowboys this weekend. I mean, the Chiefs fighting for their absolute lives. The Cowboys still have this somehow idea that they're going to make the playoffs. Thursday, I'm going to be locked into Chiefs-Cowboys. And, obviously we see the injury news about Kareem Hunt. Isaiah Pacheco finally coming back for this game. I'm looking to start him in all my fantasy leagues. I'll be betting on Isaiah Pacheco. Andy Reid said they're going to run the heck out of the ball with him. That is an injury update that I'm really keen on. I think that the Chiefs are going to run the air out of the ball against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
This is not going to have this is not going to be part of Page versus the Prince because of obviously the timing and the game being on Thursday. And we do our picks on Friday, but it's Dallas +3.5 at home. The total 52.5. I could see over. Because I don't think this Kansas City defense, I think this Kansas City defense is kind of mediocre right now. You're getting an up and down Chris Jones. They've been bend but don't break-ish. And while the Colts weren't able to break it, I think the Cowboys can in some regards break it. I see a high-scoring game, above and beyond anything. I see a high-scoring game here on Thanksgiving.
I mean, you got some insanely high totals you're going to have to get over, not just in this game, 52.5. There's also 52.5 in the night game and 48.5 in the early game. The books are expecting tons of points like you are on Thanksgiving. It's hard to disagree, right? If you gun to my head, forced me to take one of these 3 games to the under, it probably would be this one just because short week, right? Dallas Cowboys offense, right? Their defense has been playing slightly better lately. The Chiefs offense hasn't been great lately. Of all the games, if I had to pick an under, it would be this one. But I agree with you, man. I think we're getting tons of points on Thanksgiving. Everybody's going to eat.
I think Bengals-Ravens has the potential to go under. Ravens defense has been a lot better over the last several weeks. I actually think that one could go under. But Cowboys, Chiefs, yeah, they're going to eat. Lions, Packers, that's going over too. I would agree with you on that. Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com joins us in a couple of minutes. Get some thoughts with him. A lot to talk about around the NBA. We'll do it with Kurt next. Welcome back to the show. Good to have you with us. Let's talk some NBA. My friend Kurt Helin is here. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com is his jam. Provides us his insights. So you were at Lakers Clippers on Tuesday night. And it ain't like the old days with the Clippers just running roughshod on the Lakers.
No.
Not a lot of defense in this game. The total. I laughed last night when I saw the total before the game. It was 230. It was either 229 or 230, depending on where you got it. And I'm like, 230? No DeAndre Ayton? They're going to run up and down the floor, these two teams, and score a ton of points, and they did. The total was never in doubt. So I made a few bucks there. I was very happy with that. But look, this Lakers team just continues to fascinate me as we continue to see, the dynamic with LeBron being back now. We know what Luka can do. I think he had 24 in the first quarter last night against the Clippers. And I'll get to the Clippers in a second. But from a Lakers perspective, Kurt Helin, I know that they are not a team without flaws. And I know, we've talked about them potentially going and getting a 3-and-D guy. But when you just look at it on the surface, from a wins and losses standpoint, you've got to be thrilled right now with where this team is.
You do. They have overachieved, I think, early this season. And part of that is simply this. Their defense isn't that good. It's been about league average, but it's not that good. And just in terms of point differential, they should be about 10-7, not 12-5. Like, they have really kind of played better than the number. And part of that is just how good Luka is in the clutch, how good Reeves has been in those key moments. So they have just been good enough, and they're playing tight together. They're playing smart. And I think the other thing that really stands out when you watch them now, this is Luka's team, and LeBron is happy to fill the role. Like, LeBron is willing to play his role rather than be the dominant force. I think there'll be points this season. He'll dial it up for a stretch. But I think he realizes where he is in his career and where this team is and what this team needs from him.
That's what I think. And in an era where we talk about selfish stars and selfish superstars and I want to be traded or I'm not getting enough minutes or all these different things. Here's LeBron, who's done it all, is in his 23rd season, would obviously like to get one more ring and is just willing to do whatever this team is asking of him. I mean, that in this era, I know it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be like having to applaud that, but you do because it's so rare.
He wants to play for something meaningful. He wants to be in meaningful games. And obviously that includes making the NBA Cup quarterfinals, which they did. I mean, that's huge for him, right? But this is a team now that when you look at the West, looks like a top 4 team in the West, right? Like, Minnesota is stumbling out of the gate and their problems are not easily fixable. And on down the line, Oklahoma City's Oklahoma City. Denver's going to be elite. Houston looks really good. But the Lakers are in that mix in the top 4 now. And if they get to the second round and they're playing against somebody for a chance to advance, like, those are the kind of big, meaningful games LeBron wants to be in. And it makes things interesting this offseason when he's a free agent. Because he's going to want the consensus is, and we'll see, the consensus is he's going to want to play one more year and kind of have a farewell tour. I'm curious if that's with the Lakers. If they have a really good run, does he look at this and go, man, I'll take less to stay? I'm curious. Because if he's going to go somewhere else, by the way, if he's going to go to Cleveland or New York or Golden State, he's taking a big pay cut. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Give me a thought on Denver. I said this yesterday or the day before on the show. The loss of Aaron Gordon is huge for this team. The growth in his game, losing somebody like that for 4 to 5 weeks, in a Western Conference that has seen the Lakers doing what they're doing, the Thunder running out and winning 17 of their first 18, as of Wednesday. I mean, how big is that loss? I mean, we talk about the loss of Wemby for the Spurs and them having to navigate through that. How about, I think in some regards, the loss of Aaron Gordon to this Nuggets team could be bigger just because of how many different things he does for that team.
Nothing's bigger than Wemby, first off, literally, and in terms of his import to the Spurs. But it's not. By the way, it's not just losing Aaron Gordon. Christian Brown is out also with the sprained ankle for another month. That's your two starter glue guys. Now you're going deep into the bench, and Peyton Watson's been fantastic for them. But now you're leaning much deeper into the bench. You're asking all this other stuff of them, and it's going to hurt. And I'll tell you what, the Lakers and the Rockets in particular, if we're talking about you know what they're rooting for? Denver to slip a little during this phase and eventually fall to fourth in the West. Because if you can get to the playoffs with them fourth and Oklahoma City first, that's now your second round matchup. And for Houston and the Lakers and anybody else who wants to advance, having them face each other in the second round gives you a chance to get to the conference finals and a puncher's chance of knocking one of them off. Let those two teams battle it out because they're, when healthy, still the two best teams. But maybe you can get to the conference finals. Maybe you got a little something there with a little luck.
If your argument was complacency being the thing that could slow down Oklahoma City coming off of a title, and that hasn't happened here, Kurt Helin, with them at 17-1. What is the thing that could slow down this team right now?
Catastrophic meteor destroying the earth. I
was afraid you were going to say that.
The thing is, they're doing all this without their second best player, and they're what's more concerning.
And they don't even have to rush him back.
No, they don't. They especially don't now. He missed the cutoff for playing 65 games and making an All-NBA team, which means he signed a max deal with a Rose Rule, so he could get 30% of the cap. Now he can only get 25%, which is still a boatload of money, but I don't think what he was expecting. He was an All-NBA player a year ago. All that said, this team is marching forward, and the other thing that really stands out, their defense isn't just good. Right now, as of yesterday, it's 6 points per 100 possessions better than anyone else in the league. Detroit is second. They are just suffocating teams with their defense right now. And if Wemby is out long enough that he doesn't make the 65-game threshold, Chet Holmgren, people, is your new Defensive Player of the Year leader. Get your money down now.
Do you see them, are there any moves that you think here in the final 25 seconds of this segment? Is there anything you see them doing from a trade standpoint that shores them up going into the next phase of the season or before the trade deadline?
Barring an injury, I don't see that. They don't need to. But
they're so deep.
The thing, they do have, if something comes up they like, they have the assets. They can make any trade they want. They're probably just not, they don't need to.
Telling you, man, it feels dynastic in Oklahoma City. Hello to our friends watching us over there on Cox Your View. We're coming back. More with Kurt Helin on the other side. Another segment with Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. My man hangs out with us every week on the show.
We both went with black today. We're very Johnny Cash.
We are very Johnny Cash. It's slimming, man. It's slimming. It's all I can do. How troubling is the Matt Ishbia stuff with the Suns right now, Kurt?
It's not good, but it's also, look, anybody who's covered lawsuits in the past, worked in legal, there's two parts to it, right? There's the legal argument of what they're doing, and then there's winning hearts and minds. And publicly pushing out some of the stuff they're pushing out is these minority owners trying to win the hearts and minds of Suns fans and others that, hey, the league, hey, this guy's a problem and he's using this team as an ATM. That certainly has happened in professional sports. Hello, Frank McCourt, wherever you are. But it's not. I don't know if that's the case here. I think they're pushing a narrative. Ishbia is pushing back. These are two guys who would like to get more control over a team that they don't have any say over and don't necessarily like how he's handling things. But I don't know that they're ultimately going to win the argument in a courtroom where this matters most.
Does the 11-7 start help quell some of the issues that are happening there?
I think absolutely. If for Suns fans, like the team looks good. The team, Jordan Ott has been playing great. You're going to see him get Coach of the Year mentions deservedly. And you know what they're doing? They're playing hard every night. They're playing smart. I mean, they've got talent with Devin Booker and on down the line, but they're playing hard every night. And you would think in professional sports that shouldn't be a thing.
Again,
we all know. Yes. We all know it is. And if anybody who watched this team the last 2 years, them just busting it every night is like half the game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It is funny that Kevin Durant leaves and they're a better team this year than they were last. I'm just saying. I'm not saying not saying correlation, causation, or any of that. I'm just pointing out the fact.
It's bigger than Kevin Durant, but yeah, it's like they don't have the guy to fall back on. They don't have the guy who, like, oh my gosh, 7 seconds on the shot clock, throw him the ball and let him do some. Not having that has forced them to execute a little bit.
Tell me why the Detroit Pistons in this 15-2 start shouldn't have Houston Rockets vibes of last year to me. That, yeah, they're good, and yes, they're going to win games, and they're going to be competitive in the East, but are they really ready to make that leap to being a championship team?
I know that's very trendy to say yes. Somebody, I don't want to disparage one of our people who said that on air this week. But no, they're not. And I think the problem is simply this. Their defense is elite. That gets them there. They've been great on that end. But in the playoffs, you've got to have a secondary shot creator. If you're the Bucks winning a championship, I can make, back in 2021, I can make life hard for Giannis. But when Chris Middleton's stepping up and other guys, right, they had other players stepping up, Drew Holiday, they had all these guys stepping up into that void. Who's that guy? I'm not sure that guy exists yet on Detroit. And that's why, by the way, and I've mentioned it here, the league is watching to see if they can get Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen changes the dynamic if they make that trade. I don't know if they're going to be able to. I don't know if they're going to. But they need one more high-level shot creator in a playoff situation, because I can then, as great as Cade is, and he's going to get his, I can make life difficult for him, and there's got to be an outlet.
Toronto was 5-5 through the first 10 games of their season. They've won 8 straight. How surprised are you at what's happening north of the border?
I'm very surprised. Well, this is a team that had a lot of talent, but I felt like it was the island of
misfit toys.
Thank you. I'm like, why did I guess it's not past Thanksgiving, so I haven't really come up with my Christmas references yet. But the island of misplaced toys, they just didn't see how they fit together, but they are, and they're doing it by running. They're one of the fastest teams in the league. They're getting up and down. They're playing enough defense. And out in transition, they've just got athletes and shooters and guys who can play. And Brandon Ingram, the up and down career of Brandon Ingram is definitely up. He has found a comfort level there. And that guy can get you buckets, man. That guy has always been able to go get buckets. He looks fantastic. They're going to miss R.J. Barrett for the next week, but that's another team that's advanced. They were 3-0. They're through into the NBA Cup, and that could put them on a big stage in Vegas if they win one more game. Just because of the way the TV rating structures, we don't really see them on national TV all that much here in the States, but they're playing really fun brand of basketball.
We haven't talked much about the Celtics, and for obvious reasons with Tatum being out this season. The Celtics at 9-8, there's the way the Pacers have gone at 2-15 without Halliburton. And then there's the Celtics who without Tatum are still a 9-8 team. And right now on the fringes of the playoff picture.
They have gotten a few things going, but Quinta in the middle has been kind of a key. Like, I just thought their center position was going to fall apart. Remember, Porzingis gone.
Mm-hmm. Al Horford
gone. Their whole center, Cornette, gone, right? He's actually holding up what's left in San Antonio right now. Everybody left. I'm like, man, it's going to fall apart. They've actually been pretty good in the middle. They've actually been pretty good in the paint. And with that, look, Jaylen Brown's playing like an all-NBA player. He has been phenomenal. Peyton Pritchard has stepped up. Like, they've gotten enough offense. And the perimeter guy, I mean, they still had Derek White. Like, they've still had the perimeter players. I just didn't think they were the best way to tank in the NBA. Quietly, is just not have good center play, like not have good defense and good play on either end of the paint. And I thought that was going to be them, and I've been proven wrong. They've been good enough to be a play-in team.
All right, only because I have to. I've got 30 seconds left in the segment. Say something about my Knicks.
Oh, hey, look, I don't know. Are you down on your Knicks right now? I think they're playing. They haven't quite found their groove yet, and they've got to be a little more consistent defensively. But I still see this team as on paper the second best team in the East. Maybe like they are right there. Detroit's kind of looks the best right now, but push comes to shove, man. I still like the Knicks as a real chance to come out of the East if they can just kind of get everybody healthy.
Well, we're into the holiday season, which means we're all paying a lot more attention to basketball. I've been paying attention to it since day one. Kurt Helin is with NBC Sports and Pro Basketball Talk. Thank you, my friend.
Take care, man.
Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. Sam Yarnell, let's talk some more college football. That coaching carousel, it is moving. And I got to tell you, I had a feeling it was coming. But even still, it bothers me all the same. And I feel like I've got PTSD because when UConn, back in 2010, when you were a mere 10 years old, had Randy Edsall as their head coach. And I had actually become pretty close with Randy during his time at UConn. And we played golf together. He came on a TV show that I hosted briefly in Connecticut. And I loved Randy. But when Randy had that big success and UConn went to the Fiesta Bowl and got their doors blown off by Oklahoma, we all knew there was a possibility that he was going to leave for greener pastures. And he had told me in private, he was like, look, at my age, I've got one probably big move left to make if I'm going to make it. And UConn was still a basketball school, and he was fighting that battle of, Gino and Jim Calhoun and, all the powers that be there at UConn, and trying to figure out how to battle that, along with the fact that this tug and pull of potentially getting pulled off to another opportunity. And he went to Maryland, and it was a horrible disaster at Maryland. And he wound up back at UConn, and that didn't go much better. And the UConn program really went downhill after he left. Well, now Jim Mora has had this success, back-to-back 9-win seasons at UConn. And the reports are that he is going to leave UConn to take the job at Colorado State. Because, hey, first prize, Colorado. Second prize, Colorado State. Where nobody's been able to revitalize that program. They are putting a ton of money into it. They believe they can be a college football playoff team. That's the goal. I also believe one day I can make Pat McAfee money. That's probably not going to happen either. Just saying. Just saying, Sam. It's a goal. We all have goals. We all have dreams. Probably not going to happen. But Jim Mora is apparently leaving UConn. And I feel like that cycle at UConn is going to start again, where that program is going to go back into the crapper. They're going to go try and find coaches. They'll have one or two bad ones. I'm so down on the whole thing right now with the idea of Moore leaving for Colorado State.
Yeah, and while it's understandable, UConn fans can do nothing but be thankful to this man. Remember 4.5 years ago where your program was when Jim Mora graciously lent his help and decided to take over this job in this program. You were about to be disbanded. Not only were you an independent FBS team, you were trending quickly towards the FCS, and rumor had it that the university was altogether just going to cut the football program. Then comes in Jim Mora, puts together back-to-back 9-win seasons, and I'm not going to blame him for wanting to leave for a school that will, I'm sorry, I'm going to hold this against UConn, a school that is clearly willing to change and evolve in this new era of college sports and move to a new conference, right, instead of remain independent, where Jim Mora actually will have a shot at college football playoff berths, right? So to the wanting to make a college football playoff Pat McAfee analogy, right? The guy just got to an ESPN show, right? He's not just floating around as some independent anymore. He made it to the dance. Now he's just got to get in. to me, the move makes sense from all parties. And I mean, you even saw it from what the AD said. You have to be grateful for what Jim Mora did with a program that was more than on life support, a program that was on death's door. He brought back to a successful college football independent. That's nothing to shake a stick at. And you've got to be supportive in his decision to go want to make more money and have higher stature in the college coaching ranks.
Here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I understand why Colorado wants it, why Colorado State wants him. I understand, I just think there is a lesson to be learned, and I mentioned the Edsel story for a reason. We always think the grass is greener on the other side. And that AD at Colorado State, whose name escapes me, I was reading about him last night, obviously sold Jim Mora on what they think Colorado State could be. They built a new stadium. They've got money they're going to spend and put into the program. It isn't always greener on the other side. And he may find that out the hard way. And I hope for his success because he has done things for UConn that program has not done in close to 20 years. So I'm rooting for his success. But the grass isn't always greener on the other side, Sam. I mean, you're going into a whole bunch of unknowns. You're battling against Dion, who's there maybe for at least another year. You're battling for players with him. And I think it's a tall order to try and rebuild. That Colorado State program's been bad for a while.
The grass isn't always greener, but when UConn refuses to call the landscapers to try and change the color of the brown grass Jim Mora is standing on, he has no choice but to try and find other grass. As long as, and I'm not faulting UConn for this, they are a top 5 school in basketball over the last 5 years, right? Over the last 5 years, they're a top 5 school in basketball. They have no reason to leave a basketball conference. They are a basketball school.
Yep.
Just call it what it is.
Absolutely.
They're a basketball school who had to stay in the Big East, who refuses to support football. So it's the spot that they're going to be stuck in. They're not going to be an appealing coaching job to anybody but somebody who has to revive their career.
It will be interesting to see who winds up at UConn. And there's a bunch of names that are emerging on that side. Eric Morris, by the way, your new head coach. He leaves North Texas and goes to Oklahoma State, Sam. What? You got 5 seconds to... That's all I'm going to get?
Could have had a bigger job.
I agree.
Bill Bender told us.
Yeah, I agree. Odds and ends are next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. A reminder, Thursday, sort of a hybrid version of Sports Wrap. We'll have you covered for some of the top stories of the week that we have discussed. Any breaking news, we'll have it covered as well. Friday, it'll be myself and Robert Lital for the show. Looking forward to that as well. Our friend from Black Sports Online, who joins us every Friday on the show anyway, he's just going to join us for a little bit more of the show on Friday. So looking forward to that. As you all go out and do your Black Friday shopping, which I have not gone out shopping on Black Friday in forever. Sam, you ever do the Black Friday? You ever do the Black Friday shopping thing?
Not in years. I did when I was younger, but not in years.
Yeah. Watching people just trample each other to get to the newest, latest toy. Not something I'm all that interested in doing. I'll sit on my computer and go click. I'll buy it there. That's it. Cyber Monday. But make sure you support your businesses out there because very important for our economy right now. This is it. This is make or break season for a lot of retailers. If it doesn't go well over the next couple of weeks, it's curtains for certain companies for sure. All right, Sam Yarnell, without any further delay, actually got a couple of reminders. Got to make sure I give those. Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Hit the subscribe button on that. 45 minutes for you, Monday through Friday. It is beautiful. The show works just as well in its audio form. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to do so. It is fantastic. The TV show that everybody gets to see all over the U.S. and Canada on 270 affiliates. Available Monday through Friday on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Again, commercial free. Go and check that out. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts. When news breaks, we are there to cover it with Sports Wrap Shorts. Available 7 days a week, anytime there is news breaking. Also on our TikTok channel, SportsWrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, SportsWrap Jason Page. You'll also find SportsWrap shorts there. Without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Sonny Gray is a Boston Red Sox. It's a great move for the team. You know, it didn't work with him in New York. Boston is not New York, though. And Sonny Gray goes from the Cardinals to the Red Sox. St. Louis receives a left-handed prospect, Brandon Clark. Right-hander Richard Fitz. Boston also gets $20 million to help cover Gray's salary. There's really not much downside here for the Red Sox, Sam.
Maybe.
Why?
I don't know. The Red Sox are reeling. They know they're going to lose Bregman. They're making weird moves right now. Obviously, this front office has been one that, Boston fans know it well. Let's call it like it is. The front office has been in shambles for the better part of 8 years, right? 5 years since the last time you were in the World Series. It was like the next day, everyone was like, okay, we all forgot how to do our jobs, and also half of us quit, but then half of us came back, but then the other half of us got fired, and now half of us work for the Cubs. It makes no sense what is going on in the Boston front office. Now you are buying on Sonny Gray going into year 14 to be at least somewhat major part of your rotation. He'll be your 3 or your 4 all season long. A guy who threw 180 innings in year 13 last year. That's the guy you're going to want to bet on with 2 prospects, one of whom had major league experience, albeit not great. I don't know, man. It felt like the Red Sox actually had something this year, and there was an idea behind what they were doing, and it was like this youth movement in Boston, and we're just going to be this ragtag group of young guys, and even the older young guys are going to get traded out. I'm looking at you, Jaron Duran, who never ended up getting traded out. It's a confusing move from the Red Sox. It feels like it strays away from what they had just started to build, and I don't really understand it.
Crochet out there with Gray. Couple of guys last 2 years with 200 strikeouts the last 2 seasons. You pair them up, Brian Bello, Cutter Crawford. You know, I didn't realize Patrick Sandoval was still there. I forgot about Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah. The thing is, right? You said it though. Brian Bello, Cutter Crawford.
Yes.
It's house grown. Even Crochet's not old, right?
No.
But with Crawford and Bello and other guys, even with Fitz, I thought it was these homegrown arms that the Red Sox were starting to build around. It just feels like they're getting away from that at this point.
Red Sox also said to be interested in Joe Ryan. We'll see what happens, obviously, as this offseason continues. Sam Yarnell, Justin Tucker will not be kicking for the New Orleans Saints this year. The team opting for Cade York after Blake Grupe's latest struggles. So Justin Tucker got a tryout alongside Cade York, but the organization ultimately deciding on Cade York as their kicker. Will Justin Tucker be with an NFL team before the end of the season? Yes or no?
No shot. No shot. And guess what? If he's not with a team by the end of this NFL season, he's not going to be with a team again by the end of next NFL season, and that'll be curtains on Justin Tucker's career. The question becomes, Jason, that I'll flip back to you, is he still a Hall of Famer?
Thing is, the NFL does take that stuff into consideration. I know the Pro Football Hall of Fame, rather, takes that stuff into consideration. So, be a good question for our friend Jason Cole, who's part of that selection committee. Then again, he may not be able to tell us much. I'm not sure. We're out of time. Hey, Sam, have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you to Kurt Helin. Thanks to all of you for watching at home. We'll see you back here on Thursday and Friday for Sports Wrap. Bye-bye. Hi there, I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button. follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.